choosing a factoring method. Now let's factor this. In order to factor this, the first thing we do in all factoring is pull out a greatest common factor. And what you should notice is there's a GCF in all those. GCF stands for greatest common factor. What goes into all of these, you should notice, is 2. And what does that leave us with? Well, let's see. There's a minus there, a minus there. So 2 times what gives you 2x squared? Looks like x squared. 2 times what gives us negative 4x? That looks like 2x. 2 times what gives us negative 30? That looks like 15. Okay, we used to say that's done, but what we have to now start doing is, wait a second, let's check to see if this actually factors, because this can actually start factoring. Before we didn't make them factor, but now they're actually throwing ones in that do factor. So let's check, negative 15 on top, negative 2 on bottom. Okay, what two numbers, or are there two numbers that multiply to get this and add to get this? Yeah, there is. That'd be negative 5 and 3. So actually, doesn't that become x minus 5 and x plus 3? But don't forget the 2. The 2 is still out front, the GCF. So I factored it. Now, so basically, once you pull out a GCF on a lot of these problems, you have to check to see if the inside still factors. And a lot of times, it will. Okay, look at these two. Is there a greatest common factor? Oh yeah, I can pull out an x. Both these values, both these pieces have an x. And once I pull an x out, x times what gives you x to the third? That'd be x squared. X times what gives you 49x? Just be 49. Okay, like I said earlier, let's check to see if this can factor. And what you should notice is that's a difference of squares. Hopefully you remember your difference of squares. Squared, squared, difference of squares. And the answer then, when you factor difference of squares, is going to be x minus 7, x plus 7. Remember, a, b, 1 minus, 1 plus. But don't forget the x, the GCF. A lot of times people forget to bring the GCF down. Okay, so this is the back piece, and the x just stays out front. Last one. Is there a greatest common factor? Well, I noticed 3 goes into all of those. That's cool. So we pull out a 3. I actually also see a y. So my GCF is 3y. Okay, these are both pluses. 3y times what gives you 3x squared y? Looks like x squared. 3y times what gives you this? Looks like 10x. And 3y times what gives you 48y? I believe that's 16. Okay. Again, let's see if this factors. Let's check this out. 16 and 10. So 16. 16 actually has a factoring. Man, these all factor. 16, watch, 8 and 2. 8 times 2 is 16. 8 plus 2 is 10. So this would be x plus 8, x plus 2. Don't forget the 3y out front. Okay. So again, pull out your GCFs, factor what's left over if possible. Remember, this inside piece factored.